Hello, everybody. So we're joined here with MEHAK, and this is an information session just to walk you through GHC, which is the Grace Hopper Conference. And we have MEHAK, who's been to the Grace Hopper Conference, and it's been very successful. And she's here to share a little bit of her experience and thoughts, and a little bit of tips on how you can, conquer the GHC. So without any further ado, hello, MEHAK. Please go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Neha. And it's great to join this session and it's great to interact with everyone virtually. And yeah, like you mentioned, I have attended the Grace Hopper conference. It turned out to be really, really good for me in terms of a great learning experience. And yeah, talking about myself, I am pursuing a Master's of Business Analytics from UT Dallas. This, in fact, is my graduating semester. Hopefully, I'll graduate this semester. And it's been a great experience studying and pursuing a master's in the US. This is my first year moving to the US, and I'm really happy about my decision to pursue this master's. And prior to this, I have completed an MBA in leadership and finance. And in parallel to that, I also worked as a program manager. I have worked in that domain for about 5 to 6 years. I have worked with firms like Amex, MasterCard, and a little about my personal life. I come from India, from the northern part of India. I was born and raised in Delhi, and I pretty much did my schooling and undergrad from Delhi. And yeah, I'm a lot inclined towards growing and learning all the time, and that is what really persuaded me to move to the US and pursue this master's. And analytics is my inclination, so here I am and really loving every aspect of it.
That's really great to hear, Mehak. I mean, hearing people come from so many different places with so many different types of experiences and some unique skills and qualities that they bring to UTD is an amazing thing. So, speaking of Grace Hopper Conference, for the people that might not be aware what the Grace Hopper Conference is, could you tell us a little bit about what the Grace Hopper Conference is and what intrigued you for attending this conference?
Right. Grace Hopper is the biggest conference for women and binary folks in computing and science. And I think the biggest factor of this conference, why it stands out, is because it celebrates women, right? I think we need to create a culture where we are fostering an equal workspace in technology and science for women. And this conference helps us to bring together those thoughts, bring together women from all around and celebrate themselves. So I think that's been a major driving force for me to attend this conference. I wanted to be a part of it and I wanted to contribute towards the culture where we are celebrating women in this domain, right? So that's what really drove me to attend this conference. And I did a lot of research around the sessions that they hold and the kind of opportunities you have to interact with so many women in this domain. And I think that's another factor that really led me to register for it.
That's really great to hear, Mehak. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, in this day and age, I feel like it's very important for women to support other women, and the platform that Grace Topper has created to bring all of the women in STEM together in one place and not only help them get more job opportunities, but also prepare them to go out in the world and find more leadership roles and find roles that could really go hand in hand with their skill set. I think that's very important, and this is a very great conference for that. And for people that are really interested in honing those skills and learning even new skills that could help them in challenging job environments, I think this is a great platform for them to pursue those. So thank you, Mehak. That was really great. And so I wanted to know, and I'm sure all of the students are also really curious as to what are some of the things that the students should be aware of before going into GHC and how can they prepare for those?
Right. So I think starting with the basics first, GHC has a specific duration of months around the year during which it is conducted. And I think that's majorly around October to November, anywhere between that. And there is an announcement that goes out early in advance, reminding folks that, the dates will be out, be prepared to register for that. So I think keeping a tab on that is the first major aspect. Secondly, I think the tickets for GHC sells out fast. I mean, it's kind of, you need to be on your toes, you need to be vigilant in order to grab those tickets. So I think creating a reminder and just being actively, monitoring when the tickets are out and getting those, I think that's another important aspect of it. And I think the third tip that I would like to share is get on all the social media platforms, because GHC is a big, big conference and everybody talks about it. There's a lot of information on the social media platforms. So, specifically for me, when I signed up for GHC, I researched around on YouTube. I watched videos of people who have attended the conference in order to gather their tips. And interestingly, it's from YouTube that I got to be on the Slack platform, where there is a separate domain for GHC. There's a separate handle on Slack for GHC. And because of that, I was able to connect with a lot of recruiters. And additionally, I also got to know about Facebook GHC groups, and I was able to register on those groups. And again, there are a lot of recruiters out there on these groups who are trying to interact with candidates, reach to candidates. And I think researching around as to, how you can prepare yourself in the best manner is the key. And social media is a very strong platform to do that. So I think get on Instagram, Facebook, look out for YouTube videos. I think you should be set once you do that research. And the next tip I would really like to share is determine a goal in mind. Why are you going to GHC? Is it because you want to attend the sessions, interact with people around, and expand your knowledge base? Or is it to get a job, interact with recruiters, participate in the career fair, right? So basically, just keep that goal in mind and try to create a schedule on that basis. So the schedule that is released for GHC is humongous. There are a lot of sessions in there, and I think the key is to prioritize and filter out what is suitable for your requirement, what you're looking for. So keep an eye on that, and keeping a timetable is the key. Like I had specifically, I kind of, jotted down all the sessions that I want to attend, how much time I will give to the career fair, and that's how I created a timetable of my own. And that timetable really helped me to align out and streamline my entire schedule for the days. And I think another tip will be just be yourself, have fun. You will be meeting a lot of people around, a lot of women. So the key is just to be your authentic self and be ready to talk to people and be ready to put your best foot forward. Just don't refrain from speaking and interacting with people around, because I have actually made some really good friendships from GHC as well. So I think it's great to come across women from all domains and interact with them. So just let it be fun for yourself. Another tip would be reach out to people. So that would be virtually. So GHC releases a lot of online sessions as well, be it sessions for interacting with the keynote speakers in advance, or sessions to interact with the recruiters or the firms that are participating in GHC. And there are one-to-one links as well where you can reach out to them, you can participate in the sessions. So keep an eye out on that, and do not refrain from reaching out to people. Do not refrain from attending these online sessions, because if anything, you'll be remembered once you are at GHC. And that's what happened with me. I made a point to attend all the sessions that were conducted prior to GHC. And I think once I walked up to the booths at GHC, it was more of, hey, we've talked before, and we had a great conversation. And I think that really helps to build your rapport much in advance. So to sum it up, I would say be active, be super vigilant, and be on top of your schedule, because having a schedule in place really, really helps you to pace through the day with ease. And yeah, those are some of the tips that I'd like to share.
Thank you so much, Meg. I mean, those are really insightful tips and just so detailed. And I think it was rightfully put the way you said. that the tickets run out very quickly. And so when you're doing your research, firstly, I mean, the main important thing is doing your research and knowing what you're getting into. And GHC has a very detailed website where they have the whole agenda that they bring out. And even before they start rolling out, this is when the conference is going to be held, these are the events that are taking place, and they have the updates all on their social media platforms as well. So it's a very good idea to follow those and be in line with when the events are taking place. And like you said, there are so many events that are a part of DHT that I'm sure no one person can be attending every single one. So it's best if you prioritize which ones would help you the most, and accordingly you attend those events. So thank you so much, Mehak. Now let's move on to the next question. Please tell us a little more about your personal experience at GHC.
Well, my experience has been nothing short of a great learning experience. I think I had a great time at GHC in terms of the fact that I got to attend it, I got to meet a lot of people, and the goals that I had in mind in terms of attending certain sessions, interacting with recruiters, introducing myself to my top firms to get a job. I think all of these aligned out really well for me. So everyone has their own experiences of GHC, and talking about mine, so GHC spans over a duration of 3 days. On the first day, you are out there getting your information in the system, collecting your badges, and interacting with all the women and all the females that are around there. And I think the first day was particularly really interesting for me because I had no set agenda for that day. No sessions were happening on that day, and we were totally by ourselves to get ourselves comfortable, take a stroll around the convention center, and interact with whosoever was participating. So, yeah, that's the day when I actually made some really great friendships with women around. And coming to day two is one of the major days where all the keynote sessions are kind of taking place, and there's a full-fledged career fair that is in motion. So I planned out my day two in a manner that I wanted to target the top firms that I wanted to introduce myself to. And my goal was to interact with the recruiters, secure myself a great job, and in the parallel also be able to attend some of the great sessions. So that's what I did on second day. I started my day at 9 a.m. in the morning, and I went to the career fair. I was able to speak with a lot of recruiters. I was able to get a lot of swag as well. And I think that's the day when I really was able to secure two on the spot interviews. So day two is majorly about how you're aligning out your agenda and your goal or your target as to why you're attending GHC. And day three is pretty much the same. All of the activities are in full motion. There are sessions taking place. There's a full-fledged job fair that's happening. You can go out to the recruiters. So, about my experience, I planned my agenda in a manner that I would target my top firms on the day two itself. I would talk to the recruiters. I would try to get myself an interview. And I think that's what I did on day two. I got a couple of interviews on the spot. And day three was all about the follow up interviews. And then there's day four, which is pretty much around 4 p.m. It's not a full day that you can take into account, but it's pretty much a half day, wherein the sessions are wrapping up. So after that, each of the firms like Google, Adobe, Amazon had conducted their after hours, and you would get an invite to these. And I would really recommend everybody to attend those after hours. I think these are a great way to actually interact with all the participating females. And I think it is a great way to de stress from the entire day of struggle that we have been going through. So I made sure that I went up to the booths, interacted with the recruiters. I think that is the way you get an exclusive invite to these after hours. And once you have that, I think if make sure that you are attending as many as you can, because if nothing, I think you're just making great connections here. And this for me is the most fun part about GHC, where through the day while I'm running from one session to another or from one booth to another, I did not really get time to interact with people. So just de-stressing at these after hours was a really, really great way for me to actually take out some time to soak in the conference and talk to people around me.
That's really great to hear, Mehak. I mean, like you said, I think it's very important to not just focus on the jobs, but I think it's also really important to have fun and enjoy your time while you're there as well. And I think it sounds really, really great how you spent your time there. Now, along the same lines of the previous question, I wanted to know how you modified your schedule on the basis of the agenda that was put out to suit your certain needs.
Well, the agenda is twofold. One, there is a full agenda for the sessions that are being conducted and hosted in GHC during a span of all the 3 days. And the other is a full fledged career fair, which is out there. And I think people who attend GHC, they have different goals and they have different mission as to why they're attending GHC. So when we talk about the sessions, I think the sessions span for only 2 days out of the 3 days of the entire conference. And I think that's how I did it. I kind of noted down and created a list of the sessions that I'm most interested in, and I try to register for them during the start of the day so that I can focus my energy more on those sessions. And I think that's the key, maybe how you're scheduling and aligning out the sessions during the day. So there are a lot, and of course, nobody can attend all of these. So maybe another fact is that once they release out the sessions, they also release the description as to, why the session would benefit you, why you should attend that session. And I think going through that description, aligning it out to your need as to, whether this is something that you would want to attend or would help you. So filter it out on that basis, and I think you should be good. Do not go in for all the sessions. It would be really, really tiresome for you. But yeah, maybe filtering it out and maybe aligning it out to your personal interest is something that I did and that I would recommend. And talking about the career fair, well, there are hundreds of firms participating in the career fair on the spot at GHC. And again, it's very difficult for one person to go firm by firm at each booth. So, what I specifically did was I created a list of my top firms, the ones that I want to walk up to, and the ones that I want to introduce myself to. The 2 days were basically aligned out on the basis of which firm I would be targeting on day two and which firms I would be targeting on day three. And I'll talk about how I researched around these firms, the kind of job descriptions that they release much in advance of the GHC. And I think the key is, again, to plan out your own whole schedule for the day. If you don't have a schedule, I think you'll just be left confused and you'll be spoiled for choice, right? So I think the key is to plan out your whole schedule, even for the career fair that you're attending.
I think that's a very important point to bring up, Meg, because of so many events taking place at the same time. If you don't have very specifics, well, this is what I'm going to be doing at this hour, and then maybe I'll take a little break because of so many events that you'll be attending since the morning. I think it's very
Right.
important to plan things out in advance. Otherwise, you'll just be lost, and suddenly it's the evening time, and you suddenly remember that there was an event in the afternoon that you forgot
Definitely.
to
Yep.
attend. So I think it's very important to just take a look at the agenda and note down the specific events that you are keeping an eye out for, and then attend those in that order.
And I
Um,
think to add to that,
yeah.
if particularly you're attending the career fair and you're talking to recruiters and you get a call for an on the spot interview, right? That interview might overlap with one of the sessions that you have registered yourself for. So this happened to me on the second day itself. And, I had like a couple of interviews lined on that day and I ended up missing the sessions. I think that's another tip, that you need to account for that buffer time as well, as to, you need to have some space in between in terms of whether you will be called for an interview or whether you would be taking a longer time at a particular booth, right? So I think just keeping some time in between your entire schedule really helps you a lot to actually accommodate for any additional thing that you hadn't really thought of.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a very good point that you bring up. And also, like you said, you had to maybe miss a couple of sessions because you had some interviews lined up. So you need to be prepared in advance that there could be some changes that you would have to make on the spot and weigh out your priorities that way. And so basically having a dynamic approach to, well, these are things that I can drop because these are some other opportunities that are lined up for
Right.
me is also a very important skill to know during the whole conference. Speaking of the different jobs and opportunities that come up at GHC, what was your experience in terms of the job market and its demand in this conference? And could you please tell us a little bit about some of the expectations from the different companies that come to GHC and how one can prepare better for those roles that are in demand?
Right. So I think I would love to share some tips that I really abided by when I was prior to attending GHC and while I was there. I think research is something that I cannot stop focusing on and stressing on. You need to have your research in place. So when I particularly talk about the career fair and for that matter, the firms that are participating in the career fair on the spot, I think so. What they do usually is that they release a whole schedule of the jobs. So for example, for firms like Google and Microsoft, they had their own domain and a separate web page of the jobs that are particularly targeted for GHC participants. So I think researching around those and focusing on the specific job type that you want to go for or want to apply for is the key. You don't want to come across as somebody who is in for any job that is available, right? So that's what I did. I'm more into product, and I started searching for product management related jobs. And again, instead of three or four jobs, I just looked up for that one particular job that really was my focus. I think another point I would really love to stress on is having a great elevator pitch in place. So at GHC, there are around 20,000 women who are actually seeking job, who are walking up to the booths and talking to the recruiters. So that comes to around 2 to 3 minutes each recruiter can give to you, and that attention span is very less for you to actually pitch yourself. So I think having that elevator pitch really helps in bringing out what your skill sets are, which particular job you are particularly interested in, and how you can do that job, right? They want to know why they should hire you or why you're a great fit to do that job, right? So thirdly, I would like to highlight the importance of having a great resume and having multiple photocopies of that resume. Now, again, like I said, every firm releases their own specific web page of the GHC related jobs that you can apply for. And the key is that you need to look at the particular job, the type of skills that that job demands. And if you have that, if you're a great fit for that, I think you need to alter your resume to that job specific description. And why I'm saying this is because for me, when I walked up to the recruiter, I introduced myself. I had just 3 minutes to introduce myself. I handed out a resume, and you cannot have one single resume for all the jobs that you are aiming for, right? I mean, for some firm, you want to highlight specific skills, and for the other, you want to highlight some specific other part of your skills, right? So I think having multiple copies of different resumes in place is a great technique. And make sure that you hand out whenever you're speaking with a recruiter. They have a whole file in place where they're collecting your resumes. And most of the time, they reach out to you after GHC or after that day ends. Like that is what happened with me as well. I spoke with a couple of recruiters, I handed out my resume, and then I get a message from them the other day, hey, we looked at the pile and we found your resume and we want to invite you for an interview, right? So I think having that in place also really helps. And I think the trend that I've really noticed at GHC is that the recruiters out there, they are really willing to speak with you. So I think just be yourself. They are looking to know the real you, And that helped me a lot because I made sure that it is a fun conversation that I'm having with them. It's all in a fun way where I'm introducing myself, and most importantly, you need to show interest in the firm as well. So when you're walking up to a recruiter, talk to them, ask them how they're doing, ask them why they're at this firm, right? That is what will grab their attention. You're having an engaging and an interactive conversation. So I think that's also a key. And to sum it all up, I would say it's an overwhelming day. There are a lot of booths that are around you. You have your eyes set on a lot of firms. You're talking to a lot of people, and it tends to take a toll on you. But I would really like to mention that in the end, you need to know that not every interview will go according to the way you have planned it to be or you envisioned it to be. So I think be prepared for that kind of an instance, and I think you should keep your options open. Just because one recruiter at a particular booth did not really respond to you, or you did not get that much needed call back or that interview invite, I think it should not really boggle you down, because there are a lot of firms around uh, participating in that booth. And again, you need to just keep a happy face. You need to interact with them as your authentic self. And I think that is the major thing that they are looking for: how interactive you are, how well you can bond or talk to them about your own experience and your own profile. And I think that is a really crucial role towards getting you that call or getting you that interview invite. And I think that's what I did. I just interacted with them in a very fun way. I kept it very, very casual and a very interactive conversation. And I think that really helped me to get interview calls, or to get to me to introduce to them really interactively.
I think those are some amazing points you bring up, Meg. And I think it's very important to have those certain unique qualities or certain unique tips and tricks that you can sort of follow to stand out, because there are so many people attending this conference, and over throughout the day a lot of the things can get monotonous, and there are different ways that you can stand out to these recruiters. And I think one of the great tips that you put forth was to know more about these companies, because they want to know that you're not just looking for a job, but you're looking for that particular job. And they
Mhm.
want to know specifically what differentiates you from the rest of the crowd. And I think having a different set of resume for each single role that you're trying to look out for is also a great tip, because not every single resume works for each of the firms. And so, yeah, I agree with you. And I think those were some amazing points. So, we've come to our last question, Mehek. And I just wanted to know, what are some of your takeaways from GHC, and some things that you learned, or some things that you did not know before going into GHC, but some of the unique learnings that you picked up after GHC that you could tell us about?
I think some of the takeaways for me would be that you need to just breathe before you go. It'll be an overwhelming experience. You'll be meeting a lot of people. The first day, I was very nervous when I was interacting with people, and I think that nervousness really shows. And whatever preparation you've done, or howsoever you are prepared to talk to people, I think all of it will be of no use if you're nervous. So yeah, I mean, recruiters are very friendly, so you just need to be yourself. Just take it in a very fun stride, and be very casual with whosoever you are interacting with. So I think that'll be my biggest tip. Just take it easy and be yourself, and take it in a very fun way. I think that would be one. And secondly, I would like to highlight as to, if you're particularly going for the career fair where you are interacting with the recruiters, be very well prepared of why you're applying for that role, and be very well prepared to receive questions on the spot. You would not know, but the recruiters would be in that conversation interviewing you, right? So again, be prepared to talk about yourself, to talk about your projects, and to highlight some of those key skills in the form of examples that you have done. For example, it can be academic project where you're highlighting your leadership or your teamwork attitude, or it can be your job experience where you're highlighting some of the technical skills, right? So I think being prepared with those answers is the key. And third would be just be flexible with your schedule. Uh, so when you have any sessions lined up for the day, just keep it in mind that you need to be flexible in order to accommodate for any other tasks, such as on the spot interviews that might come up, right? So you need to have your schedule flexible in that way. And fourth is network as much as you can, because even if you're not getting anything on the spot, once you're back from GHC, there are a lot of firms reaching out to you even after GHC. So I think networking is the key. And even if something did not work out with a firm on that particular in that particular conference, the recruiters tend to remember you. And once you reach out to them later, much later, for another role, which might not be GHC specific, they might still favor you, right? So I think networking, I can't stress enough on the fact that networking is really important, not only with the recruiters, but you're out there with a lot of women from your domain who are literally doing such great work in technology. And I think just making those connections out there is the key. So enjoy as much as you can, because this is your time to actually interact with so many females around. So yeah, I think I would suggest that.
I think that's really greatly put, Meg. And with that, we've come to the end of this information session. But is there any additional tips that you would want the students to know, or anything that you know would be something that they should be aware of, or just some extra tips that you have for them?
Right. I think, like I also mentioned previously, right, research is the key. So, be it the sessions that you are attending, just research around them so that you're on the top, right? I actually got to attend some of the really, really interesting sessions on how AI is going to take over our future. So, I think just researching around those sessions and knowing how you can benefit from those, or be it researching around the firms that you're going after, that you want to apply for. I think be well prepared. Whosoever you're talking to, you just need to be confident in the manner that you know what you're doing, you know why you're here, and you know what you're here for. So once you're prepared in that manner, I think that confidence shows on you. So you just need to put out your confident self, because whenever you're talking to somebody, confidence is the first thing that they pick, right? So I think just being confident in whatever you're doing is the one thing that I really really go by for attending this conference.
That's really great to know. Yeah, I mean, confidence is very important, because even if you're a little nervous, as one should be at these conferences, because these are some big firms that you're coming across, but even if you suddenly feel like, oh, maybe I don't have everything in control, but if you have
Hmm.
that confidence, I think a lot of the times that nervousness is brushed under the rug, and you can just overcome it, and you look a lot more smooth in
Yep.
those conversations that you have with those recruiters. And I think that's really a great tip. Thank you so much, Meg. And I think this was really informative, and the whole journey of what Grace Conference is and how you traverse through it, and some of the takeaways that you had are really some really great in helping the students learn more about this conference, and they should look forward to attending this conference in the coming years. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And it was great chatting with you. And it was great discussing my experience. And I wish everybody all the best. And I would really, really recommend everyone to attend Grace Hopper. It's a great, great way to interact and to come across women who are in technology, who are doing great work in technology. And yeah, thanks for having me.